Okay, welcome to part two of our discussion with Vince Lisi. Uh, it's good to have you back with us, and it's great to have you with us again, Vince. And this portion of our discussion is meant to focus on Now Creations, the organization that you started uh, with. Is it Bob Seen? Was
Yes, correct.
okay. Uh, And if you go on nowcreations.org, you will see that there is so much available in terms of spiritual growth on that website. Uh, Beside the Sunday service, there are study groups, there are teachings archived there, there are monthly thoughts, there are events. There's a whole section on spirituality, which I assume everybody listening to this podcast would be interested in. Otherwise, they wouldn't be listening to it. Uh, there's the Cosmic Citizens Committee, 10 Habits for Daily Enlightened Living, special meditations. It's just a wealth of spiritual information that is available in teachings. So, when I look at that, I thought, wow, was this the vision from the beginning, or how did all this come about? So maybe you could address that a bit, Vince.
I'm happy to do so, Bob. Thank you. Um, our website, like anything else, has been a work in progress, and we keep on adding certain things as we progress along the way. Let me first of all make a general comment, and I'll be more specific. None of us is as good as all of us. All of us are better than any of us. So, one of the things that becomes extremely important is to be able to come together with like minded people. The hardest thing in building an organization is getting people to be able to come together regularly as a group. When we were doing my traveling to this place and that place and so on, we would have at least the people in that area who were pretty consistent. And our initial groups were anywhere from, let's say, 8 to 20. So we had about 8 to 20 in different locations, sometimes more, seldom ever less, but at least 8 to 20. But those groups never really came together except we had an annual picnic. So what became very, very interesting is the notion that we could come together not only within a group, but groups could come together. And as groups came together, especially now through Zoom, we can have people from the West Coast, Florida, New York, and the Heartland come together on a regular basis. And it's very important for us to realize that we grow better together. There are two things that enable that to occur. One is my role, which is the consistency of holding the meetings. You need someone who is consistent to hold the meetings. So in a normal year now, we have about 650 meetings, which is about 2 a day. And I do the meetings. I do the meetings because it is part of my spiritual growth. And I know that that's what I'm meant to do. So it's extremely important to have a consistent meeting. And then, of course, people need to be consistent in coming to the meetings. So oftentimes we'll do maybe a book that will have 3 or 4 sections. Like we'll do a Tuesday night meeting, a Wednesday night meeting, and a Monday afternoon meeting, all doing the same book, but at times that are more convenient to people. So that ability to have a consistent meeting and then to have it at different times is extremely helpful in order that we might be able to grow as you indicated, a holy communion of consciousness, because I think realistically, that's what we're able to do now. So, because of our consistency and members who enjoy this consistency now doing 3, 4, 5 times a week, and we have been doing weekend encounters, we call them weekend enrichments, every Friday and Saturday night from 7 to 8:30 for 2.5 years. Have not missed a Friday or Saturday night because we realize the importance of them. So that's an important function, the consistency of the meeting, not just as of the facilitator, but of the membership. Extremely important. With that, then, I can say, kind of tell you a little bit more of how our website grew and the different things we have. The heart and soul of Now Creations is really our study groups. In our study groups where we have the interactions, it's the place where we most grow together, where we can share. We use a book study usually. We'll read a paragraph, I'll make a comment, and then the people will simply respond as they feel so called. So that our study groups, they are, I would consider to be the heart and soul. In addition to the study groups, then we have our Sunday service. The Sunday service is where I can do more extensive teaching, where I can give it's usually the Sunday service is comprised of a 25 to 30-minute teaching, a 15-minute meditation, and then we close with our theme song, which is Namaste. Wonderful, wonderful song by Kathy Bolton. That's every Sunday. We have many members who attend 1 or 2 study groups and then our Sunday service. And then in addition, we have special meditations on our website. And the special meditations are precisely that. There are 6 special meditations. They start with the most basic, which is simply focused breathing, and then go to how to release problems and create new ideas, how to overcome difficulties in life, how to be creative in life, and probably one of the most beautiful ones, the breath of God, how we can expand into fuller understanding. And then I wrote the 10 Habits of Daily Enlightened Living. And we've always had that in our background of things. We would send them out to new members and so on. But we finally decided we need to put those on the website as well. And they are 10 habits of daily enlightened living, starting from when you wake up in the morning, how you proceed during the day, and concluding at night. So if you want a kind of a handy dandy list of 10 ways of the daily enlightened living, that would be something you can just easily download. And then a couple of years ago, we started what's called the Cosmic Citizens Committee. And we felt that not only do we need to know what's going on here on the planet, but there's a wing of Now Creations that looks beyond the planet to the cosmos, to the organization that is in the material realm, perhaps even beyond our universe, certainly within our galaxy, but galaxies beyond, and then beyond that, into non-physical realms. And that's what our Cosmic Citizens Committee does. We presently have, I believe, 6 reports, and we met quarterly. Now we're going to meet semi-annually, and we have a report. If you went to our Cosmic Citizens Committee, click on, you'll see 6 very beautiful reports. They're wonderful. The most recent of which has been the James Webb Telescope. Wonderful, wonderful notion. In addition to that, we then have monthly thoughts. And monthly thoughts, we first of all were just kind of doing them as kind of a clever thought for the day. Like kind words have echoes that are endless. And they're really good things. But then we decided I decided, because I do them, is to write kind of a little scenario. So this last scenario has been on the new year. So if you just go to monthly thoughts, click on it, the most recent monthly thought will be there. And then there's an archive of monthly thoughts as well. So that's kind of a pretty good resume, a pretty good summary of what's on our website. And then of course, if you would like to join us, the best thing is just go to contact us. You can either put your home address and or email, and we will send you a welcome packet and certainly welcome anyone aboard. We're very open and receptive. We presume that we have people of goodwill, and you know, every once in a while, we have someone who is more interested in telling us what they know rather than working how we can work together, and they soon kind of leave because we're not quite as interested in what they know, outside of the fact that they want to be a member as opposed to just simply spouting. That's a pretty good resume, I think, of our website and how we are growing. May I reiterate the importance of the group? One of our members said, and I'm going to be quoting her in this Sunday's service, she said that this was on New Year's Eve when we were doing we have programs on Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Day, Christmas night meditation, New Year's night meditation. But on New Year's Eve, she said, I could not think of any place where I most want to be than be with all of you in this energy. That's probably the way that most of us feel. If we have family obligations, of course, the family obligations, those are the things you would, most need to take care of. But there are many of us who either live alone or those who live as a couple, and they want to be in this energy all the time. I don't blame them. That's what I want to do too. And I suspect that's what most of your audience wants.
There's a lot of literature out there on energy work, and you talk about energy a lot. And I know that that's something that I enjoy being in when I'm in your study groups, is that you feel that energy, and it's very uplifting.
It really is. I mean, it really is. We would oftentimes, uh, when we were meeting in a group, when we would be meeting in a specific location, we would get so used to the energy of the group, and then someone else would come new, and they would come in and they would say, "Oh my, what energy you have." We would just take it for granted. It's just the way we now are. We
Yeah.
are in this energy, and everything gets defined not by a member of the group, but everything gets defined by, is it in harmony with the energy? And that's really the key. So we kind of almost take it for granted, but whenever someone is new, even online now on Zoom, it's amazing. I should say too, you don't have to um, sign into Zoom to attend our programs. That's a very important consideration. All you would have to do to attend any of our programs, you don't have to have a separate app for Zoom. All you would need to do is go to our website, nowcreations.org, and then click on either the Sunday service or click on the study group. And the study group will take you down to the specific study group. And then right next to it, you'll see it says Zoom Classroom. Just click on the Zoom Classroom, and that'll take you into the study group. You do not have to have a separate app for Zoom. That's important just to consider.
Now, you do have to enter the code before you get into the study group.
That's
And
correct.
I,
If you do. Yeah,
yeah,
sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, and the code is right there.
right.
It's right there, right
Yeah.
in that little block, 0118. It's right there. Don't even worry about writing it down. It's right there.
Okay. So right now you have around 200 people in Now Creations.
That are
And
active.
after this podcast and the previous one and the next one, because they're all related, uh, you are going to experience many other people, or a large influx of people wanting to experience what we've described for now creations. And I wonder if you have a growth goal. I wonder if you will feel the need to cap some of these study groups in terms of their numbers. Is there a plan to have a second Vince who's available to run additional groups? Or how do you plan to uh, absorb growth?
It's obviously a good question. So let me tell you what I anticipate us doing. First of all, we'll see. Um, I can't tell you how many people who have enthusiastically said, I'll be there week after week, you can count on me. And they may be there 1 week or 2 weeks. But we'll see. We'd be happy to have many people join us. But quite frankly, I think we are looking for, we're willing to educate anyone, but we're also looking for people who aren't just looking for a study group, they're looking for spiritual growth. And I think that's a very important thing. If you are sincere, you will be met with sincerity. I can just tell you that. That's really important. So we'll see. We'll see. See what happens. We'd be delighted to have many. Probably we would, if necessary, we might start another group. So just for example, um, we had 6 groups who completed a book called A Course in Mastering Alchemy by Jim Self. And these 6 groups spanned a 3.5-year time period. So these 6 groups went through 3.5 years. Presently, we saw a demand for another group to start at the beginning again. So as a result, on a Thursday night, we have, I'll call the new group. I think, Bob, you're in that group.
I
On,
am.
on Thursday night. And we started at the beginning of the book, and we've been into it now for maybe 3 or 4 months. And it'll be 3 years before we conclude that book. So it'll depend on if we do have an influx of people. We'll see where they are, what they have known, where they feel they're comfortable to fit in. Presently, we have a course in Mastering Alchemy. We have a course in Miracles. We have the book Oneness by Rasha. We have What They Know, which is my study book. And then we have the Tao Te Ching. So we have 5 books, which are 5 groups that people can plug into. Plus we have our open forum discussions, weekend enrichment discussions, topical conversations. So we have a wide parameter of things. So we'll see. Is there another Vince to do follow-up classes? My choice has been not to do that. And I do it for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's very important to have high quality teaching. And what I find is that when Jesus passed, and the Buddha passed, and Mohammed passed, and Krishna passed, factions began. And when Paramahansa Yogananda passed, factions began in the Self-Realization Fellowship. So my feeling is that I would rather be factionless, and that I think is best directed by someone who can keep it kind of all together. And it takes a certain level of not just teaching, but maturity to do a group. I've been doing this for 25 years now. and I did it when I was a priest, and I pretty well know what to do and what not to do. And it just takes, can we find someone with the same consistency, with the same patience, with the same understanding? Maybe that person will emerge. But right now, we'll be under one auspice.
Okay.
It works. It works without, we don't have problems.
Yeah.
Not every once in a while someone is problematic, but we don't have problems in the organization.
Right. Right.
It's my philosophy.
Okay. I was just curious about that.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a good question.
well, because so many organizations, put together a mission statement and a vision statement and then a plan for growth and succession and all of that. Uh, so I was just curious to see where Now Creation stood with that.
Yeah, well, let me give you a couple of other things that are helpful. First of all, if you go to our home page, you'll see we have our mission statement. That's not a problem. We don't have a plan of succession. So we do have the mission statement. That's clear as a bell. But secondly, what we have noticed is that there are subgroups that have formed, many of whom have Now Creations members in it, that they function independently. And I believe you have such a group, Bob, if I'm not mistaken.
I do, and we just started a second group on the energy codes.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's very important that we will always foster recommending groups, if you want to belong to a group and so on. But I just find it much better rather than doing it under the auspice of Now Creations, because unfortunately at times people get a little upset, unfortunately, at what someone might say in one of these subgroups, and it just rubs them the wrong way, and as a result, they then stop affiliation
Mm-hmm.
with Now Creations. I just say that with an honesty and a sincerity, and yet as people mature, and we hope that people in Now Creations keep on their maturing, their spiritual maturity. I'm very happy to see the subgroups. We probably have, okay, so you have two, three, Bob?
Two.
Two?
Yeah,
Two,
one is oneness because your oneness groups meets monthly,
correct.
and uh, it meets on Saturday. So it was very difficult for me to attend that.
Sure.
So we started a weekly oneness group.
So I would say right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would say right now we have 6 groups that are comprised mostly of Now Creations members that function independently.
Mm-hmm.
And I would certainly endorse them and certainly encourage others to join them. Um, and yet I just want them to know that group is not functioning under the parameters of Now
Yeah,
Creation.
yeah. Well, your legacy is going to be there thanks to YouTube videos and all the archiving that you've done. So I can picture Now Creations going on well beyond your tenure.
Well, what's interesting, of course, is that's what they did with the Center for Spiritual Enrichment, uh, the Center for Spiritual, the one by Roy Eugene Davis, Spiritual Awareness, CMA, Center of CSA, Center of Spiritual Awareness, where they've continued um, the works of Roy Eugene Davis and so on, although he has passed. But quite frankly, I think if we were most honest, the real legacy is the spirit that is within each one of us, that at this moment in time has been touched by Now Creations. And my legacy is absolutely not even important. The legacy is really the spirit that is really moving in each one of us. For that is the ongoingness that has occurred at the beginning of creation. We continue it now and will continue afterwards. So I think the real legacy is the contributions that each one of us have made to the ongoingness of creation. And that's my honest notion.
Well,
We will,
it's a beautiful notion.
it's the truth. Everything else is going to come and go. The only thing that's real is, quite frankly, nothing really exists except the eternal divine. So I think that's really the legacy, the the happiness that we have been a part of, and that other souls are a part of, and we are just part of the ongoingness. They probably don't remember who was 100 years from now. They probably will not remember who was a part of anything.
That's
Maybe 10 years ago, they won't remember who was a part of anything. Who was that president we had? Or what was, oh my gosh. Yeah, we're just, I think the point is the joyfulness that we have been a part of, the creative energy. That's the key.
yeah. I found it interesting that on the website, uh, when you talk about being the main teacher for now creations, uh, then you decide to change that and say, well, really, I'm the vehicle of teaching.
Exactly.
And rather than just put one or the other up there on the website, you let us share in that difference.
Well, I think the key is any good spiritual teacher was, Paramahansa Yogananda was really good. He said, I'm not the guru. The guru is the Holy Spirit within me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what we understand, that we are all being taught by the Holy Spirit. And in the in being taught by the Holy Spirit, someone emerges as a leader, understandably so. But the leader is not a tyrant nor a dictator. The
Yeah,
leader is simply one who is leading under the guidance of hopefully the spirit within them to elicit the spirit within others. So I'm quite clear that Vince Lisi is simply a vehicle for the larger universal spirit. I know that. So there are times where I have to make decisions. Okay,
yeah,
I'll make a decision, but the decision is simply a third dimensional necessity. So we're going to
mm-hmm.
have a workshop in 2 weeks. Okay, I got to know that so we can get that information out. But the real teacher is always the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And the more we grow, the more we understand that. So you know, I take all of that legacy stuff with a grain of salt. They won't even remember.
Well, you do give credit to Bob who started this all with you, uh,
Absolutely.
and yet I'm unaware of his presence, and just out of my own curiosity,
Sure.
where's Bob? I think there was a movie. What about Bob?
Now, Bob is, so first of all, a wonderful soul. And he's lives in the Kent area right now. And Bob and I are in communication on a regular basis so that we Bob has not been as actively involved as when he lived in Youngstown, but he continues to be an incredible supportive presence for Now Creations. Um, when you start an organization, when you start a company, there's a lot of things you have to do. When Bob and I decided to start Now Creations, I don't know that either one of us realized all the stuff you needed to do. No, you need to get a lawyer right off the bat to put things together. You need financing right off the bat. You need a motto. You need a logo. You need someone that's going to give you programs. So, quite frankly, Bob is was irreplaceable at the beginning, especially of setting up the legality and financial accounting methods and so on. You need an accountant. Even when you're a nonprofit, you need an accountant. So Bob took care of the, let's call it behind the scenes. I was the program director and went and did the programs. But you need both. And you continue to need both as you progress. And you continue to need people that can do secretarial work. I can't tell you how many times we get changes of phone numbers, addresses, and emails.
Mhm.
Somebody has to keep track of all that stuff. That's a big thing. Or the technology of someone has to be able to do the recording. Somebody has to take it off of Zoom, put it onto the website. So we need many people to assist us in these programs, but you don't even think about it when you're beginning.
Right.
You just say, well, we ought to do it. And actually, that's what Bob and I said. We ought to do this. Okay, Bob, you do this, I'll do this. Here we are 17 years later.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a great organization, and your offerings are just so varied and marvelous. Uh, what I like to do when we come to the end of a program uh, is, one, I give homework to our listeners for them to think about what the takeaways are from what they've heard and what resonates with them. Uh, the other is, I like to offer the speaker the opportunity to leave the audience with words of wisdom. So uh, as as we sign off from this podcast, I would like you to just say whatever you'd like, what it is you would like to leave these people who are on their own spiritual journeys. And I see that as 8 billion people in the world, and there are 8 billion different spiritual journeys. So um, there are many to choose from and many thoughts to share. So, what would you like to leave the audience with?
If I could be sincere and clear, read my 3 books. Read my 3 books. They're really important. But by way of the capsule, I would simply say, learn to understand that you are not simply a personality self. You are much more than your physical body, much more than your mind and your emotions. It's very important to know yourself. You are an eternal soul spirit. You are an eternal soul spirit. Don't confuse your personality, which is the vehicle, with the entity of a soul spirit. You are here manifesting in the material realms. Allow your soul spirit to be your conscious, intuitive guidance.
That's a great
That would be
thought.
my message.
That's a great thought to leave everybody with. I want to remind our audience that there will be some more detail about those 3 books that you mentioned on our website. And there will be a link to the Now Creations website. There will also be a link to Patreon. So you have the opportunity to support this podcast through Patreon. And with that, I bid you adieu until next time. Thank you for being with us, and all the best on your spiritual journey.